Hey. Okay. My old channel, which was Rose Sweet, which, by the way, was not a name that I gave to myself to call my YouTube channel Rose Sweet. That was actually chosen by somebody else. I believe it was somebody in NSA, some fear-based surveillance operator, right? That's sort of how it works. I mean, think about it. Um, when you're sitting at a cubicle at a computer and you're running a surveillance system, you're not creating anything. Your mind is held captive to a fear based system. What are you in fear of? Oh, what they might do. Oh, we got to have our eyes on everybody. Fear. Now, when you're running a high speed wave, man, fear? Are you kidding? Man, your energy's off the charts, baby. I call it molten voltage. A lot of juice. It's a lot of light. That's a bright ass bulb. And not only that, but your heart becomes a powerful magnet, which means you're attracting a lot of it. And what happens when that happens? Man, you're being pulled. The Hadron Collider? Why do you think they use a big ass magnet? To go fast. How powerful is your magnet? Well, how much light do you got? How much information is held within that light? It's infinite. How do you know that? Because I can sit around a campfire day after 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 day, day after day after day after day after day, and keep telling stories that are different from the last ones. Write a story that's 3 chapters, a story that's 1,000 chapters, right? With all different kinds of characters, all different landscapes, in all different kinds of colors and ways and shapes and forms in which those stories are held. So we're talking about speed differences, okay, between inside time, which is clock driven, and outside time, because you're running so fast, the clock zeroes out. That hand is spinning so fast, you can't even see the hands go anymore. They're gone. Zero. You're just at zero. There isn't any time. You're going too fast. The clock can't keep up with you. In geometric space. So how much space are you filling up? As much as I can. Which means you want to expand the consciousness. Expand the universe of possibilities. Expand what's possible to experience in all those stories. Which means you need more space. Geometric space. So how do we expand more possibilities? By going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. Geometric grand designs. By finding more geometric ways in which we can fill up more space and shape and form in relation to the spin and the speed rotation of the particle in which we're programming the holographic bidirectional echo chamber of sound and light that we have just what? Manifested. Which is a projection and a reflection that is happening so fast that you don't notice the time difference between what your eyeballs are perceiving or your third eye is perceiving and what you become aware of as the projection and the reflection of what your mind just manifested. You don't understand any difference in speed. You're not having to wait for the boomerang. Hey, it took 0.75 seconds. It took 0.23 seconds for that information to come back. Immediate, which means it's always there. Eternity. Right? And then there's the clock speed, the inside time. So this is where I mentioned this once on my other channel, and that was when Patty Broussard, the commander of the Earth Defense Forces, the command here to do a job, and as far as I'm concerned, this is just my own personal viewpoint. Everybody on this planet has an unbelievable amount of reason, if you will, to say thank you to that lady, okay? If everybody knew what she actually did, because I know what she did. But having said that, when the Battle of the South Pole, which as I remember it, if my memory serves me correctly, but remember, I don't normally try and keep things in memory, okay? Particularly now. I'm trying to move into the no memory mode because of the amount of changes that I know that is taking place, which means what is your future going to look like? So I'm going to sort of decide that in personal consultation and meditation with Gaia Sophia ascending when I go hit certain places that I love to be in where the energies are off the chart, right? Having said that, we were aware that during the Battle of the South Pole, where apparently the Orion group, the Labyrinth group, the bad guys, the Cabal, dark energy, however you want to perceive that, evil shit, whatever, okay? Those that don't have any love, don't have any compassion, and don't have any empathy, and don't have any qualms with killing everybody off on the planet, okay? Those folks, okay? Essentially, they see everything as a resource that can be exploited, resource, captured, and used as an energy slave, or a resource that they can use to, how do I put this? Express to others that look at me, look how powerful I am, self-indulgence, perversion of nature, all that stuff, right? Okay? Low-speed stuff. And so when I thought about what happened at the Battle of the South Pole, and as a result of having won that, and the Ring of Midas, which was recovered, as I remember it, by Patty, and Patty was the holder of the Ring of Midas. And for those that don't know who Midas was, remember we talk about the big giants, Tiamat, which was Super Earth, and the red-haired giants, right? Okay, well, the king of Midas, Super Earth, Tiamat, okay, was killed by Marduk. And Marduk ended up with the Ring of Midas. And the Ring of Midas is known as the Builder's Tools. Earth's Builder's Tools. Okay? And so Marduk at one time was apparently the head honcho down here, which was part of the Draco Reptilian group, who, in alliance with others, which was apparently a corporate setup, were essentially running a slavery system, right? And, of course, resource exploitation, in which they were conquering other planets and worlds in which to rape, harvest, pillage, plunder. Okay? Which obviously means they don't have any love for anybody else. They only give a shit about themselves, right? They don't have any love, compassion, empathy for others. So in my mind, that's basically vampiric consciousness, okay? Because they see everything as a resource to be exploited or used up, consumed. It's vampiric, right? Okay, so these are not energy producers. They're not like a sun, a star, if you will, that's out there shining bright and providing energy 24 hours a day as a sphere, right? Pumping out beautiful energy to experience when the sun comes up. They don't do stuff like that, and they don't perceive a world in which they can become something like that. Okay? So they're sort of relegated to the lower domains, the lower realms, because how the hell are they going to be able to lose mass density in which the weight of the particle is lighter, in which their spirit, if you will, is moving through the cosmos of what is possible to become aware of at such a high rate of speed, right? So they have to resort to technology, and that's exactly what they do. So they use technology instead of their own consciousness development, which is higher growth, which means becoming a more powerful magnet, to attract more light, which is to be more of what love is, in love and service to others, to live in peace, harmony, and balance with others. Okay? That's not who they are. That's not their signature. That's not their profile. Right? Okay? So they have a different profile. Okay? So having said that, when I realized that the Ring of Midas had been recovered by Patty, and she talked about how the South Pole was moving at that time, and this would have been, what did I say, August 2017, was moving at, as I remember it, 47 miles an hour, going northbound from where it was down by Antarctica, right? And that the North Pole was moving at 57 miles an hour and sort of moving off towards Siberia. So you realize that the poles were moving. And what happens when the poles shift? That's a swap, isn't it? Swap in polarity. So you got the red light, blue light. So they swap places. So that is akin to a memory wipe, or what I call a refresh rate on a screen that's pixelated with the holographic information that is represented by the data that we process through a holographic microprocessor, right? Our DNA assembly, right? Because your eyeballs, other than the third eye, is a holographic data processor. It runs a data stream of what we see on the visible light spectrum with our eyeballs. And then, of course, we have our third eye. So when you're operating on your conscious creative imagination without any memory, when you're running at a high rate of speed, then you realize that you are projecting to the manifestation of what you're choosing to experience. It comes back to you, and it's immediate because the speed is so fast that every frame rate and every now time moment of every experience that you're experiencing, you're not noticing any difference in speed. You're not even aware of time. And you're not aware of anything that just happened in the past, because the rate at which the change is taking place between one experience that is different from the next means that the one that just happened, there's another one that's already replacing that. Because the speed at which you're experiencing who you are, at which that's taking place, is so fast to the next one, you don't remember what happened before that. You only know the energy that you're experiencing, which is so beautiful to experience, is the energy that you're using to experience the next moment with. And I know because I've experienced that. That's outside time. And I've experienced that because I've seen the purple light that I projected on the east side of the Big Island and took a picture of it. So that's around 900 megahertz. That's almost 400 megahertz above a love frequency. That's Arcturian stuff. Right? AB positive bloodline. I share that with another lady named Karen Ann Luke McDonald. White Bear Clan. Go look at the history of Bear Clan. Go look at the history of White Bear Clan. And you'll see why we're here. Right? Why are the Arcturians here now? Right? So I listened to a video this morning with Kim Gogoon, and they were talking about the changes that were taking place, the importance of raising your frequency, how you get your vibration up. She mentioned the Arcturians and how the Arcturians, as she put it, have a way to maintain essentially, which is their domain, their own realm that they normally operate in, because as she put it, they vibrate at a very high rate of speed. And that's true, we do. Okay? It's like being in a warp bubble. And that warp bubble is protection. Because you know, as I knew as a child, that you're going to be under attack all the time by dark energy, evil stuff. Then you realize that when you're living through your heart, you're able to maintain your speed, because your heart is like a large endocrine gland that can manage or self-manage the electrolyte balance using both hemispheres of your brain, which means the brain is not in charge. The higher mind of the heart is. Because the heart is connected to source, which is connected to your soul links. So you're running on your soul energy. So your soul becomes a magnetic compass. And that becomes the magnetic power plant of attracting so much light that the circle of light is rotating so fast in a Merkaba that that's what it looks like. A circle of light, a light bulb, a sphere, a spirit that is in that sphere, right? A lighthouse. In this case, projecting purple light as a high-speed wave. And that's beautiful energy to experience. That's your identity. We love that energy. So having said that, I thought before I cut this little video off, because this is very important, and I was trying to think of ways to impart that through the way in which others can experience how this is translated, because this is, as I see it, one of the largest problems, if not the biggest problem, without memory wipe, getting into how we can do memory wipes, that humanity faces right now, because of everything that I'm aware of, that this particular group known as Life Force Project is trying to unfold in order to restore what happened to this planet so that we can build thriving relationships and thriving communities, because our energy and our consciousness is motivated to do that, because we have love in our heart, compassion and empathy for others, and we want to have a future for our children that is worth leaving them.
Robert Roll still ain't back yet, huh?
Uh-uh.
Wow.
So what I say in all this
See ya.
is that, how do I put this? Distraction. That's the AI. Happens all the time. Because I just lost my train of thought. And that's its purpose. Okay. It knows exactly sort of the direction that I was headed. But I can rejoin that. The point that I was going to try and make here, and this is the biggest problem because Kim Gogoon talked about it. She tried to say that they were going to put $3,300 in everybody's account because she has the keys to the financial, or if you will, the global accounts on the planet, okay? And that by putting $3,300, they thought that that might raise the frequency in everybody to sort of break through what's known as the governor of the 55 harmonic. Now, my understanding is we've already broken through the 55 harmonic. I don't know if we have or not. I haven't looked at that data recently. Patty used to keep track of that, which is otherwise known as the veil, which basically means running the true reality, which simply means we're experiencing energy at a higher rate of speed, which is going to raise everybody's awareness. And that begins for people to be able to sort of self-reflect on themselves, what they were held captive to, which was a program held in memory that they realized does not serve them, so they no longer want to use their consciousness energy to keep a program running that they now know was meant to self-terminate their ability to reproduce, okay, any children in the future. Okay? And without getting into all the data that I've mentioned in all the previous stuff that I did on Rose Suite, it's actually real simple. Okay? And I'll just give you an example because of what I experienced in my own lifetime. Because when I got out of high school, because I have an enormous amount of love, compassion, and empathy for others, because I can't stand to experience any other life form, whether it's a human, whether it's a dog, whether it's a cat, whether it's a cow, whether it's a bird, whether it's an otter, whether it's a whale, whether it's a dolphin, whether it's an insect. I can't stand to experience them losing energy knowing that they're losing their life force. Okay? Having given that is why I went into fire protection and emergency medical services when I got out of high school. Okay? So about halfway through my career, I went to work for Rockwell International Corporation, their space transportation group, which is in Downey, California, where they were building the space shuttle in the middle of the 1980s. Part of my job was to do building inspections. And in the process of doing that, I came across a building where on Sundays they were draining 3 vats, which contained 5,000 gallons in each one of them, which is a total of 15,000 gallons. And because I had training in hazmat, in both nuclear, biological, radiological, and chemical weapons, otherwise known as WMD. I went through all that training when I was a fire captain at the Naval Weapons Station in Seal Beach, California, with the Naval Ordnance Disposal Team and a number of other classes that I had taken at the University of California, Irvine in environmental engineering. So that allowed me to have a larger body of knowledge that I could operate off of, so that when I make certain observations related to the chemistry, if you will, of certain elements that are hazardous or toxic, okay, to being exposed, where humans are exposed to that, okay, then I realize the hazards or the risks that are involved in that, right? And so when I realized the chemicals that they were draining was going into the drinking water supply for over 12 million people living in Southern California, how do you think I responded to that? Well, the first thing that I did is I wrote that building up, okay? And I took it to my supervisor. So I figured they'd do their job. So when I came back a week later to see if it had changed, they were still dumping it in the same place. That meant that no corrective action had taken place. So now I went to my supervisor and I asked him what had happened over that, right? And he said, well, we're going to get to it. So I wrote him up again. I wrote him up 3 times just to put it on the record. And when I realized that they weren't going to take any action, okay, I went to a number of other fellow firefighters and paramedics that I worked with on day shift to see whether or not they were willing to come with me to meet with the president of Rockwell International in order to address this problem. Not only from a liability standpoint as an employee of Rockwell International, but also knowing that when we know that these chemicals are in the drinking water supply, what that is going to do to the future children, to the future mothers, and the future people that are going to experience the toxicity that there's going to be consumed through the drinking water from which they're being exposed. And what do you think happened? Out of about 14 people, these are firefighters and medics that I work with, one individual who later on went on to be a paramedic for the city of Fountain Valley in Southern California was willing to come with me. And this is what was stated to me by about 12 other employees who'd been working there. Some of them had been there for 30 years, a couple of them had been there for 20 years, but they all essentially echoed the same message to me. Why are you doing this? Don't you realize how much money you make every year working for this company? You make almost $100,000 a year. You have the best health and retirement benefits that money can buy. You can go get yourself any degree that you want, and this company will pay for it. You get off 3 weeks vacation every year, and you get a mountain of time off for health problems. Why would you risk all that, okay, for that? I couldn't believe what I heard. You understand the problem? Money, benefits, job, which means they cared more about their own ass than they did some mother who's pregnant, who ends up giving birth to a child that's deformed, has a number of different learning disabilities, cognitive dysfunction. Do you think they took that into consideration at all? As to any kind of intrinsic motivation to why they might act on behalf of what might happen in the future to a mother or her offspring? No. Zero consideration. Because the very idea that they would be willing to fight for that life, okay, in the now, out of fear of losing what they hold so valuable to them, which is loss of energy. Because they translate energy in their mind to money. Which means if I